If you feel like you're pissing in the wind every time you post on social media, well, A, you're not alone. A lot of people feel that way. And B, I think you're gonna find this video helpful in understanding why your social media is not really showing you the results that you want to have. I'm not going to talk to you about algorithms or, tactics and strategies, but I'm going to present to you the idea of time and how it plays with social media, because we like to think that the ROI on social media is direct. The fantasy is that you post a video or a post somewhere, a blog post, I don't know, a post on LinkedIn, Instagram, wherever you're posting. You put something out there and somebody sees it and they fall in love with you and they read a couple of other posts and they schedule a call and they become a client. And while that does happen, for the most part, especially in the beginning when you have a small audience, that's not exactly how it works. Like, the process is a little bit more twisted. And when I reflect on my business relationships and the ones that were most profitable connections, basically, if we were to think about them in terms of just financial profit and nothing else, because that's the context of the video that we're making today. When I reflect on those, they were never like straightforward, they saw a post, they became a client. That does happen. And don't get me wrong, I value those just as much. I value everyone I connect with. But they're not the cornerstone of the business. Like, this is not what creates the quantum jumps in the business, at least not in the beginning. In the beginning, what happens is the social factor of social media kicks in. And quite honestly, like, social media, the two parts of social media never really go away. So I was talking to a client about this the other day, about how social media is really in the name. So first of all, think about media. Like, what is media in your business? When you're a solopreneur, when you're creating social media in conjunction with your business in general, what you're doing is you're creating or building a media channel, kind of like a news channel or a sports channel or a channel that runs some sort of show, which is your content. And hopefully, if your content is good enough, it's going to attract a certain type of person, so that when you run the ad, that is your product or your service, you have a high chance of people trusting, listening, and potentially converting. That's the media part. Now, the social part, everybody hears about it. Everybody says you have to be social on social media, but very few people explain what that actually means. And when I reflect on those relationships, what it means for me, at least, is that I built real relationships. Like, I never go out there with the intention that, what am I going to get out of this? That used to be the mindset I had earlier in business, because I was hustling. I was coming at it from a different place. But now I do it for self-expression and joy, and trusting that it's going to work out in some way. It's going to get me what I want. Truth is, the way social media is done today, like the mechanical way that you do social media, is just not fun, and it's not sustainable. It makes you almost like you're walking on fire and you're just trying to get it over with as quickly as possible. And it means that because you don't enjoy it, because you're purely doing it for a result, you are impatient about the results. Like, you post something and you're like, why does this post not get me clients immediately? Like, why is this not converting immediately? And it feels like a failure. It feels like it's not working. It feels like it's not getting you anywhere. But actually, what's happening is that you are putting out conversations at scale. You're starting relationships, because all relationships are built on conversations, and you're starting conversations with people. And so if you can think of the social part, that social media is a gateway for you to start connections with people who will become true relationships. And within those truly valuable relationships, within those relationships, there will be a handful of relationships that are exponentially more financially profitable than any of the other ones. And yes, all of them are good and all of them are, important to your business, but those are going to be the cornerstones of your business. Like, those are the few handful of relationships that, for example, put you in front of 10 other people, or this person has a gigantic business and so it ends up being a huge chunk of your revenue, or all of these things that come from these deep, real relationships that are built over time, that just don't happen just in the moment when you post that piece of content. Again, you are going to get people who convert from the content. That happens, certainly. If somebody watches a video and then they become a client, or somebody reads a post on LinkedIn and they become a client, Not saying that these are not valuable. What I'm saying is when in the beginning, when you have a small audience, you can't count on that volume to be high enough to sustain a business. I mean, you can, but I'm talking from personal experience, all right? From personal experience, what has made every single business of mine work was not the volume or the number of people. It was the depth of the relationships. It was the depth of connection and the depth of trust that was built through these relationships that will ultimately translate into a person referring me to somebody else who happens to be in some mastermind, who happens to know 100 other people, and bam, just like that, I have an opportunity. Or a client who is, who has two multiple 8-figure businesses, and we have like a multiple year retainer kind of relationship, and it ends up being multiple 6 figures, that sort of thing. I welcome all clients, I welcome all opportunities, I welcome everything that is in alignment. But in the beginning, you're not going to have 1 million followers, you're not going to have 1 million customers, and you never have to. If you don't want to, you never have to get to a point where you have a huge list or a huge audience, unless that's what you want to build. So the point is, when you are building on social media, you have to let go of that need to have this linear, direct relationship and to trust that the element of time will kick in. It's not about how quickly can this translate to that, because that's not how it is built. If you can decouple it from each other, if you can see social media as a platform to share who you are, an extension of who you are and your expression, and sharing your thoughts, your ideas, how you think about things, what drives you, why do you work in a certain type of way, talking about your work and your philosophy around your work and why you do your work your way, right? And sharing with people in a way that is valuable, that is helpful, and starting real connections, real relationships. And I can't stress this enough. You cannot have any shred of calculation behind this, because whether or not you believe in energy or energetics or things like that, I'm really not interested in having these kind of conversations right now, because whatever. But I know from personal experience, and you don't have to believe a thing I'm saying, this is something you can actually test out in your own life. You can't fake this. The sincerity of your energy or your emotion or your intention behind it makes or breaks this thing. If there is any part of you that is giving or sharing with the hope that it's going to get you something in return, or that this person is going to become a client, or you're doing it because you're hoping at some level that if you do X, you're going to receive Y, that ruins the entire thing. And this is why it's so important that you build a brand of full self-expression and you do something that is genuinely joyful to you, sharing your joy, sharing your passion, living out this alive existence. Because when you do that, you naturally share with people and you're not expecting. Not because you're trying to be goody-goody and you're trying to be an ethical person or anything, but because you genuinely just love it, and you love, talking about this topic, or you love solving this problem, or you love serving this kind of person. You love this thing so much that it's just a natural, spontaneous self-expression from you. And in the process of sharing that, people benefit from you, and that's how you build real, genuine connections and relationships. So you start the conversations on social media, you post a post on social media, a person comments on it, you start a conversation, take that conversation offline. Stop these shallow conversations, take it offline if you are genuinely interested in the person. Again, this is not a calculated effort. If you're genuinely interested in having a conversation with a person, start with curiosity, with getting to know them, letting go of the outcome and how quickly it's going to lead to something, or whether or not it's going to lead to something. Again, all these relationships, they were completely spontaneous. I was not calculating that this person was going to become a connection. I didn't even know the possibilities. It was just synchronicities and things happening. You might say, Aliana, this is not a strategy, I can't just count on it. Well, this is not where your strategy happens. Your strategy happens in the work that is under your control. What's not under your control is none of your business. I hope this was helpful. Go to brandsarealive.com/mojo if you want to receive a video like this every once in a while. I hope it helped. I'll talk to you soon.